So, how was this meditation?
Good.
It was good?
Yeah.
Did you connect with your heart?
Yeah.
Yes. So, we met a couple of days ago. You guys invited us to your boat, and you gave me like a piece of cake that was incredible.
Thanks.
And when I asked you about the cake, you said like, "Oh no, we make those cakes." And so I was shocked. You said, "I'm a baker," and we started talking. You told me about your story, and I felt that it was impressive. So could you share a little bit about your story? Who are you first? Where are you from?
Okay.
And tell me a little bit about your background.
So my name is Jean. Jean Biou. I've lived a life in lots of different countries actually. I'm French, but I grew up in the US in North Carolina for 8 years when we were kids. We moved back to France and I studied France, I studied business. I went to business school in France to study finance. I had a time abroad where I lived in China for a year, like in the context of that business school. And a time when I lived in Barcelona in Spain to do my master's, and I was always on track to become a businessman because my father was also a successful businessman in an American company in aerospace,
Okay.
an aerospace company. And that's so I kind of decided I wanted to follow his path, and that's why I decided to do business school. And I was very good with math, very good at everything that's analytical, so I went to finance. After working just a year in Paris in finance, I decided to switch courses and to completely change my life. And I went on a sabbatical trip in South America for 9 months.
9 months. Beautiful.
And that's where I met my wife in Colombia, and I took the decision to move to Colombia to be with her, and I needed to find a job or a business idea or something to do that I could do in Colombia that I could go do there so I could be with her. And that's where the idea of starting a bakery came to fruition.
How this idea came to you?
Ever since before I finished business school, I had known that I wanted to. I was going to finish my master's. I was going to try finance, but I had this feeling that it wasn't something that was going to even give me personal satisfaction. It was something that I felt I could be good in, that I had skills for, and that I could have a successful career in. But I didn't feel any fulfillment in it, and also I didn't feel like it was in service to anything. To be honest, I tried to look into finance for social finance. There's social finance projects in France to help small companies, sustainable energy, sustainable development, things that were more socially minded, but still fundamentally I wasn't having any success finding any interesting jobs in the area, and everything just seemed kind of like I don't know, everything seemed to be not able to grow really, because everything was at a very small scale. I wasn't getting any satisfaction from the jobs that I was applying to, and was having a very hard time finding a job because it's a very poor market, that sector. There's hardly any jobs available actually. I worked in a finance company in sustainable energy and renewable energies for a year, and the people I worked with and the environment just seemed it didn't seem like there was any ultimate purpose to what they were doing. So I decided to go to South America for 9 months to do a sabbatical trip, and to really I need to rethink my life, and I need to rethink what am I going to do? Am I going to follow this degree? Am I really going to work in this? Or a part of me had always been kind of at the start of projects, instigating projects, always a bit taking the lead. I felt like there was a part of me that wanted to be an entrepreneur, that wanted to have my own company. But I was also kind of pretty risk averse, and I didn't want to throw myself in something I didn't have a strong knowledge and a strong mastery of. So it was and I was coming from a background where I didn't really have any strong skills or knowledge in anything, because I was very general and just studies, and I didn't know really anything concrete in life, anything practical that I could offer as a product or a service to people. So when I was in Colombia, and I met my wife, and I said okay, I'm gonna move to Colombia. I was thinking I was actually towards the end of my trip, I was traveling in Peru, and I was in south of Peru, heading towards Bolivia, and I had to saw oh, there's no artisanal bakeries where my wife lives. It's a city in Colombia called Bucaramanga. There's 1 million people who live there. It's a big city, but there was no European style artisanal bakeries with good quality bread and healthy bread. All the bakeries had this traditional bakeries there had these very, very lots of sugar, lots of margarine, and lots of yeast, and not at all fermented. It's a type of bread that just It's bad for your gut. It's bad for diabetes. It's bad for like obesity. It's like in lots of aspects. It's just like it's very unhealthy bread. I had this idea that like okay, we had like a bakery that made sourdough bread for these for people there. Like that would be a nice like it'd be a nice health alternative for the people there. So like there's like this kind of like this social goal to it. I like cooking. I always felt like I liked feeding people. Like that's something that I always liked. I had that like I hadn't caught on to it, but I always realized like for a long time like I liked feeding people. Like that's something that always made me feel like happy, like preparing a meal for others. So like there was this creative aspect, and like it was creative aspect and something that was like something I felt like I could get good at, which is basically feeding people and making good food. So there was those two aspects, and then there was a third aspect. There's like okay, well this is a business model that has existed for like thousands of years now. There's always going to be a need for bakers, basically, unless agriculture like disappears. And like that'll be the last thing that'll disappear. Like we'll always need bakers. So I thought like, okay, this is the type of business that like even though I'm super risk adverse, like I should be able to get this to work. And so with those things in mind, decide like I had first thought like, oh, like a bakery could work really well in the city. Like there's a lot of people, there's people who travel, there's people who would be interested, there's people like, and there's a need for it. There's a need for a different type of bread.
But did you have any experience? Did you know?
I had no experience, no. Okay. And so a week went by, and then also I'm like, wait, I could do this business. Like I'm looking for like a business project, and I was in the Lago Titicaca. So the Titicaca Lake, it's like I think it's the biggest lake in the world. It's at a very high altitude in Bolivia, between Bolivia and Peru, and there's an island on it called Isla del Sol, Island of the Sun. And I was there, and I was like, just had this very like epiphany. Also, it felt like a mandate coming from above, like from somewhere else, and they're like saying like. Do this, like this is your project, like this is for you to do. And I was like, okay. Wow.
Like when you had this epiphany, what were you doing at the moment?
What was I doing?
Yes,
well, I was with my sister-in-law, because we had planned to do this trip together actually. So we were with my sister-in-law, and we had been doing meditations. We had been meeting with shamans as well. We had made friends with this woman Garena, who was a shaman in Peru, and we had stayed at a place where she was living at for a while. We had an ayahuasca multiple times.
Beautiful.
I already had a background with doing ayahuasca before, also in France. So like I had been very connected to the shamanic path. This is also why I had wanted to go to South America. We just had this moment where we got very connected, and we started talking about it with my sister-in-law, and it was very like she started like seeing it very clearly. She's like, oh, this project will be great. Like this is gonna happen. She started having like these visions about it, and I started having these really strong like I could really visualize it happening. I was also having really strong visions of my wife, of having I had the feeling I already knew that we were gonna have 2 kids. Like these are things that like came to like my future wife, because we had just started being together. But it was like this moment in my life where like things were really crystallizing of like, okay, this is like the next chapter of your life is like this is what it looks like. And I was getting like a sneak peek at it at this moment. So like I decided I went into it like, had it like really full for like, all my faith. Yeah. I put like all my faith in it. I'm like, okay, now like I've been like asking for a sign. I've been asking for like a project. I've been asking for like help, for like some clarity, like what to do, because I felt like I had like all these capacities. I had all this potential. I was good at school. I had like a good degree. There's so many things. Every time I decided to, I put myself like everything I put my attention on, and eventually with enough practice I could get good at it. But I had so many doors to open to like that I could open and go say like, okay, do that. That I was like, I had like analysis paralysis. Like I didn't know what to choose, where to go. Like I was very stuck in that sense where like I didn't know. It was very difficult to make a decision basically. So that I was like, okay, this is clear. I'm gonna do this. So then finished a trip in Bolivia. I went back for 3 days to see my soon-to-be wife in Colombia, and then I went back to France, and we were separated with my at the time girlfriend for a year while I was in France. And I looked for baking schools that could take me as a student. It was too late in the year to scribe for, because the school starts in September. France, the school program had arrived in November, so no school wanted to take me, and the only time they wanted to take me was next September, which means that like it was going to be at least 2 to 3 years I was going to be separated from my wife, which wasn't acceptable like option. I wanted to, like I had set my like focus like I need to get this done in a year. I need to figure out how to make bread in a year. So I tried that. No school wanted me, so like okay, I'm going to look for bakers who could take me on as a stage. So like apprentice like as a contractor and everything, but at least as like a stage, like unpaid help, but just so I could work with them and see how they work. I tried one bakery in Geneva. and it was like very modern style bread, like the classical stuff you see in a lot of bakeries, and I just wasn't inspired by it. It wasn't like the hours were like we started at midnight. It was like in the middle of the winter when I had to put like chains on my on the tires of the car to go down from like to get through the snow to get to the city to take the chains off midway. Like it was a whole ordeal. I did it for 3 nights. I absolutely hated it. Like I really realized like this is not what I want to do. Like this is like it was like this moment where I was like, what am I gonna do? Like this does not seem at all appealing to me. And then a friend of mine who does numerology in Switzerland, she said like, oh, I heard of this baker who does sourdough bread. And this was more than 10 years ago. So this is much more. This is like 12, 13 years ago, where sourdough bread was still like, it wasn't very known. Like it wasn't at all like the thing that's much more common today. And this was he was a baker who had done the traditional bakery model, and he had had a burnout, divorced his wife, and he went to do the pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very the Camino de Santiago de Compostela. So it's a very long trek you do over weeks.
Yeah.
That you can do through almost lots of starting ports in Europe to go to Santiago de Compostela. And on that trail, he discovered a type of making bread with sourdough, without any equipment. You just mix it by hand, and with a wood fire oven. So everything done the same way you could do bread. You could have made bread literally hundreds of years ago. And he set up a bakery in Switzerland, which was just it was this old town. It was like the place where the bakers have been making bread since the 1400s, basically.
Wow.
And he had an oven, and there's a like sign with the date on the oven that said 1472.
Wow.
So that's when it had been built. And so the village is a small village in the mountains, so they were very happy to have a baker come by because they hadn't had one in a while, so he didn't have to pay any rent. He fixed up the oven, and he was just making bread, and the bread was from a flour from a neighboring village where there was a farmer who was growing wheat and making flour himself out of his wheat. So all organic, really high quality flour, really nutritious. And so I saw his way of working, and I was just like, oh wow, this is great, because this is like it's excellent bread. It's super healthy. It's type of bread that makes the world a better place. It's more sustainable in terms of the way it's farmed. Like there's just like all these aspects to it, which was just, for me, it was just like, okay, this is how I want to do things in Colombia. And so with that, like I did 5 weekends with him, making bread with him for 5 weekends. And then at home, I made bread every day at my parents' house. I kind of modified the oven a bit. I put a pizza stone in it so it was better to cook bread. I started my own sourdough, and every day I just made sourdough every day, and I was making sourdough loaves, and I was just saying like, okay, what happened? What happened? What worked? What didn't work? Studying the different process. I was looking for books online, watching videos on YouTube, and like that process over a year, I had like a good sourdough loaf. And I was like, okay, I can only make one type of bread, one type of loaf, but like it's been a year. I'm gonna go to Colombia with that. So I set off to Colombia, and so I moved. I moved to Colombia.
So a year later.
A year later.
Okay.
Yeah, a year later. And then I moved to Colombia. We found a house we would look for a house where I could like make my bread production from home and to try to sell it like on markets and to deliver it to people, because we didn't want to like invest in we want to like, I was always, because of my risk averseness, I always wanted to like find like, okay, small steps basically. I'm not like gonna make huge investments. I'm gonna try to do something which are like kind of like this baker, which I can scale up. I can start with something small that doesn't cost me a lot of money. Because at this time, like I was still like not sure, like I didn't know if this was going to work or not. Like I didn't know if it was going to be, as a business model, it was going to be. I still had a lot of like imposter syndrome I had to deal with. I still had a lot of doubts as well. Like I had faith, but I was fighting loads of doubts in my project as well. So like I had to be even more determined, because I was my own worst enemy in this. And saying like, am I going to be able to did I choose the right path? Is this really for me or not? But at the same time, like, just this grit of like, I'm going to continue doing this, whatever happens. Like I'm going to continue doing this. So, like, even though like I faced lots of challenges, I'm having lots of difficulties. It was difficult to find like the right equipment. It was difficult to find the right ingredients.
So when you were saying that you had all these intrusive thoughts, and you were your worst enemy, but you knew that you had to do this.
Yeah.
So what is that feeling, just for people to know and understand?
Like sink your teeth into something and say, oh, like I'm not letting go. Like a dog like biting into something and saying, like he's not letting go. There has to be like this raw determination of just like, come hell or high water, like I will continue doing this. Like every problem that comes, I'll have to face it as they come, one problem at a time. And there will be problems, and there are lots of difficulties. There's lots of challenges, but you just keep going. Like it's like you have to say, like I set myself on this path. It's like Like now it's like there's a moment where you have to say like I haven't gone far enough in this path to make the decision to pull out. There's that as well. Like especially when you're at the start and you get all that imposter syndrome, you're like I haven't done this for long enough to be able to say like, you know, like, oh, this was a mistake or this wasn't for me, because that can happen. Like you can make like I set myself along the wrong path. Okay, those things can happen. First, at least the first year or the first couple of years, you say like, well, I've hardly been in this path for long now. Like I really need to give this my all, and this is all. If this is my all, if doing it for 3 months is saying like, no, this was too hard, is giving up, then you have to like come to face with the fact that like you're never gonna get anything done in your life if you're thinking like that, because 3 months isn't enough to go anywhere. To become a master at anything, you need to give it like years and years and years and years. So there's a part of saying like, okay, like, am I making progress? Yes, I'm making incremental problems. I'm managing to solve the problems that I'm finding along the way. And like, there's like, do I feel like I've explored this whole path? And like, do I feel like I've digested this whole thing and come to the realization that it's not for me? No, I'm still in the process of digesting it. I'm still getting to know it. I'm still figuring it out. So if I'm still figuring it out, then I can't back out now. So those intrusive thoughts are just like, well, it's just like when those intrusive thoughts come, like you have to like part of it had to be like this really ironclad determination to say like, well, I'm going to keep doing this. Like, you know, even if I'm like emotionally I'm living in like it's like I'm in emotional hell about it, I will continue. Like I'm going to continue along this path because I'm not done. Like there's this strong feeling like I'm not done. Like I haven't explored every option. I haven't tried every route. Like there's more. Like I can still figure this out. So that I think was the faith part. Like the faith that like, okay, I guess the faith part is ideas like eventually I'll get there. And the determination thing is like sustaining me. Like every step of the way, I'm going to continue. Like I'm not going to give up.
So like you knew that you were going to be successful and that this was like your purpose? No, from the way you speak.
Now looking back, yes. Like now looking back, I realize that like with the level of determination that I put into it, like even though like I was doing something which was very atypical in a city that eats mostly corn-based products, they hardly eat bread as well. So like I was very disruptive. Like it was a classical business like bakery, but it was very disruptive where I was doing it. So a lot of people we had to explain, our customers, we had to explain to them how to slice the bread, like because it was like that was new for them. So it was like that part of it, like yeah, it was like there was a lot of uncertainty there in a way, and it was very, and yeah, it was a very like it was a very risky business in a way. Like I didn't realize how risky it was to do it there, but at the same time I was like, I guess like I was always like in the moments where things got difficult or things like I wasn't finding solutions. There were certain key people would always like show up and they would help me find they would give me the solution to what I was missing basically. I think in life sometimes we try to hurry things along and things aren't working out, and because we don't realize that like the solution to that problem or like the thing that needs to like the moment that obstacle is going to lift, it will lift, but you need to wait for it to lift. And sometimes you feel like you're inactive, you're not doing anything because you have your focus on this issue, but this issue is going to solve itself in the future. And you need to put your focus on other issues actually, which are more like demanding now, even though they don't seem connected to the long term what you need to be doing. That's one of the things when you realize like if you're struggling and you realize like, okay, you're struggling, but are you like having these synchronous of moments on your path where everything is sort of starting to work out and like things are, or certain things work out, like certain things unlock, and you find like you seem like extreme luck basically, which is actually just like extreme coincidence is exactly what you need to continue along the path. That's a sign like, okay, you're struggling, but you're not on the wrong path. If you're struggling and nothing ever works out and everything is working out for the worse, then maybe it's a sign that life is telling you like, okay, like, you know, like you're on the wrong path. You chose this path for like the wrong reasons, for like these ego reasons, for motivations, for the wrong motivations. And therefore and this is not the moment, and this is still not the moment for you to continue. Like this is not the right path. In my life, I was having those moments. And then the other area was like, I was missing a lot of knowledge in terms of how to make bread. Like there was so much just from like, I know how to make that one loaf, but there was like so many other types of products I was gonna need to learn how to make if I was gonna make a bakery that could sustain itself.
Yep.
Because the Swiss baker I knew, he was selling like organic sourdough loaves that he was selling for like a very decent price in Switzerland, and he could live off of that. But in Colombia, people were going to spend that much money on bread. So like I need to have like a variety of products to accompany that to be able to have a sustainable business. And that's when I met a French baker who was living in Colombia, who had set up in Colombia, who was working with the company that sold me the equipment, the first equipment that I bought, like the first mixing machine, like eventually the French electric oven that I bought. And that, his name is Fred, and he became my master. Like he really taught me. He ended up teaching me at the time, like, I don't know, 80% of what I knew from baking at the time, and really like completing my education. And that's another person I met along the way.
Why did he decide to help you?
I think he saw that I was really passionate about making good quality bread. I think he saw in me someone who was coming at it from a completely different angle. Like, no, like I want to do this. I'm not here because I feel like I have to be here. I keep doing lots of things, and I'm not here for the money either. Because if I was doing things for money, I could have stayed in finance.
Yeah.
I'm here because I want to make a really good quality product. And I wanted, there's a part of this artisanal part of me, side of me, which I was just discovering, like that really wants to, like, I want to be able to make, like, I want to master this craft, and I want to be able to like create this, like create something for my craft that I can share with other people, that other people can come to love. And that, I think he saw that, and he saw like, because he was someone who had that mindset as well, like of giving your best, basically, of trying to do your best. And that's, I think he saw like, okay, like this guy, he really wants it. Like let's he saw there was a future in what I wanted to do. And he saw a future in me, so I think that's why he invested his time. We spent weeks, 2 to 3 hours on the phone every night talking about bread. Like I was like answering all the questions, because for all this time I was making bread and there were so many unknowns for me, and like he was like helping me answer all those questions. And then I was getting to the point where I was getting to the questions, and he was like, I don't know. Like you need to try, you need to test stuff, because I just want to keep going deeper, keep trying to understand more, and keep go further with it. And I think that's always been like, I had a mindset, like I just like, yeah, like you just like, there is a side of it which is like, you have to be demanding. You have to be demanding yourself. You can't just say like, this is good enough. You have to say like, you have to know like, it's good enough when it's good enough, and that's when it's really good. Like I think that's one thing that was like, I think in all food businesses, if you want to make a good quality food, or if you want to be a good craftsman in any area, there's that side of it. Like there's a bit of a perfectionism side to it, where like you need to be like
anything.
You can't just rest on your laurels and say like it's good enough. Most bakers, that's what they end up doing. They say like this is good enough, because it's such a hassle to get it done in the first place. Even if you're doing poor quality bread, like even that, it's gonna be such a hassle to get like all the variables you need to take into account to get basically all the products ready for the store opening, and having all the bread, the viennoiserie, the croissant, the desserts, the sandwiches, like all the different things, get all those different like products ready for sale. That, whether you do it really well or you do it really poorly, will always be a hassle. So most bakers, they feel like, because I got the hassle done, I got the work done, that's enough.
Yeah.
But then no, you like, if you want to make good quality bread, you need to constantly be questioning yourself, and constantly be testing yourself and seeing what's going wrong. See, like, and like fine tuning all your recipes to get the right process go. And it's like music, because you have to, like, every bread is one process. Like every product you make is one process, but it's within the symphony of all the products that you're making at the same time. So all these different types of doughs that are fermenting at the same time, these different products that are cooking at the same time that need to go in the ovens in the right order. All the stuff like the mixers that are mixing at the same time, that you need to like organize all these different elements, so that there's like, so it's like music. So the symphony comes out well, and like all the products are nice, all the products are beautiful, they taste well, they came out how you wanted to, and that's like the concert's going really well. Then like, or I forgot the yeast in that product, or like, oh, we programmed the fermentation chamber, the proofing chamber for this product wrongly, so the croissants are completely overproofed, and they looked horrible. Or like, oh, we didn't turn the oven right on, or we didn't like set the oven at the right temperature, so these products didn't come out cooked, they couldn't come out. And like that's a problem where it's like, it's not music, basically, it's just noise, and it's not working out. So like, when you do that, and when you put yourself like the challenge of like having all these different elements, you're saying like, I don't want to just make music. I want to make like something beautiful. Like I don't want to make like, I want it to be like, I want to be like high level music. And then all of a sudden, like, you need to like, you need to be like, yeah, like a chef d'orchestre. Like you need to be like a maestro of an orchestra. Like you need to have like everything in the right place, and then like everything working in harmony, basically.
It feels to me while you're talking that your product comes from your heart, like it's all love.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I think it is like love, and I think sometimes like we say that, like we say like made with love, and it sounds kind of like, for me it sounds almost cheap. It sounds like kind of hunky-dory, like kind of like, it's because it sounds like this idea of love, like kind of like roses, unicorns, like something like very superficial love of love. But actually, like love is like a marriage basically. Love is like a marriage where you go through so much shit together, where you have to deal with so much difficulty, where you have to deal with all the flaws of the person you're with, and they have to deal with all your flaws, and you have to deal with your own flaws while being with the other person. And that's what real love is like. Love is like going through all the dirt, like all the difficultness, all the challenge, all like everything you have to put up with, everything you have to let go of, everything you have to surpass and you have to heal. Like, and like that, there is that, yes, it's made with that love, because of all the suffering I went through, all the struggling I went through, to at the end of the day today to be able to make this really, really high quality, really good, digestible, tasty, like considers well bred, like to get to that point. Yes, that was made with love, because it was made with like with my suffering, with my pain. It was made with my struggle, like, and that's where it's truly like, yeah, that is love, because like I had to have love to go through all that. I could have never gone through all that if there was no love in the first place, basically. Otherwise, it's just like you give up. Like if you don't have love in the first place, you do give up. And when you're in a struggle, you don't think of it love, and you're not feeling that love, but you are. But that, having that love there is what keeps you going, basically.
I agree with you 100%. So I have, I'm not even sure if I share with you my business. So we buy and sell vintage cars, vintage
Okay.
Ferraris and Lamborghinis.
Okay.
And I have a business partner. My business partner, his grandfather was a mechanic, his dad was a mechanic.
Yeah.
He's not a mechanic, but he has this passion for cars that he knows the cars by VIN number. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I saw Lamborghini Miura in Boston. Oh my God, this is 4536. It was white. He knows everything.
Okay.
And so he has the love
Yeah.
for the cars.
For sure.
And on my side, I manage a business, no? So I have the love for growth. I love to see business grow, and I
Yeah.
love to see people grow, no? But we always say that what we do is love, in our business. That's why there's that passion.
Yeah.
His passion, my passion together combined, and boom, and there's an explosion. But
Yeah.
everything and when you do that from your heart, because you just want to, like share this love with people, business explodes, and that was our case. Business took off like crazy. And from what you were telling me the other day, it feels like you ended up moving to France, right?
Yeah.
Your business took off.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that?
So I in France, I bought a business that had been, it was a bakery that had been operated for 30 years by the previous baker. In France, there's a lot of models where the bakery is a very, very important business in France. It's like a staple. It's like supermarket, where you buy your food, your groceries, where you get your bread, but you're the pharmacy, where you get the drugstore, where you get your medicine, and where you get your cigarettes, basically. These are the classical businesses in France, that you've seen now for hundreds of years, and it's a really established business in everyone's everyday life. So I was looking for a bakery. So bakers, usually you can create a bakery in a place where there wasn't one, but generally people recommend to go look for a bakery and one that's that was already existing, basically, because people know if there's a baker there and it's easier to get things going. But I wanted to go to a bakery where I could do my own thing. I could have my own vision. I didn't want to have a bakery where things were because a lot of bakeries, people want to continue, if they go there, they want to continue finding the same products, and they want to continue seeing the same things they had seen with the previous baker. And for me, it was I was saying no, I want to do something different. So I was looking for a bakery that was struggling, and I found a bakery that had been operating for 30 years, and the owner was like I was describing earlier. He was happy with just getting the products out into the store, basically,
Mm-hmm.
and not doing more. And there was no more love in it. There was the love had died down, I think at least 10 years, maybe 17 years before. And so the only thing that was there was a lot of spite, and there was a lot of resentment, and it was you could taste it in the bread. You could taste it. You could see it in the way the store was managed. You could see it in the way the bakery was managed. And so I thought, I'm gonna flip this bakery, basically. I'm gonna turn this bakery. I'm gonna give it I'm gonna turn it from completely around to from the bakery, which is manage in resentment and spite, to something where infuse it with give it a rebirth completely, and say okay, this bakery now, it's this bakery this. I'm gonna it should this bakery should be treated with love. It's this place, the people here, I felt bad for people who lived around, because they didn't have a good option for bread, and I felt okay, this is why take a bakery which is already successful and continue doing the same thing? why not bring good bread to a place
Yeah.
where there's like where people don't have good bread, like and people. So I thought like this is like okay. In Colombia, there was a mission of providing healthy bread to people where there wasn't healthy bread. And France was more like saying like there are so many bakeries in France which went this road of basically taking shortcuts of like buying frozen products and just cooking them and selling them, of like not making the whole process, not making using like additives, using a bunch of like ingredients that aren't good for people's health as well. So I thought like I'm gonna be a real artisan. Like I'm gonna do the craftsman thing to like 100%. We're gonna make everything ourselves. We're not gonna take any shortcuts. We're gonna really like we're gonna go like the whole mile. And like so that bakery, like when we bought it and we started there at the time, like we had like an increase in our sales compared to the old owner, like immediately. There was a bump. There was like a 25-30% bump our first year. But still there wasn't like a lot of people coming at the time. It was a lot of work for me because like in France there was such a wide variety of products that people expect from bakeries that I didn't have to make in Colombia. Like the variety of pastries, the variety of viennoiseries, so everything's like croissant, pain au chocolat, these types of products. Like these are things in Colombia which are like very niche. You don't see that often, or you do in very big cities. Here in France, like you need to know how to make these things. Like it's absolutely necessary. So there's a lot of products I didn't know how to make yet, so I needed to figure out how to make. So my first year was like hiring staff to be able to like do like to get the products out the door, but we weren't very efficient. So my bakery, like we lost a lot of money the first year because I wasn't efficient yet as a baker. I still need to figure it out the space. I still need to figure out our processes. So our first year was like we were increasing in sales, but our profitability was very, very bad. And we had a lot to invest. Like we had to like change so much equipment. We had so many we had machines that we thought were gonna work that ended up dying a couple months after we bought the place. Like even the toilet, we had like an electrical toilet, like the one that like these toilets that like hash up everything you put in it because it doesn't have like a big enough evacuation pipe. Even that thing broke, and I had the bathroom and like the changing area with the locker room like filled with water with like shit literally, and I had to like clean that all up myself. I had to drain it all. I had to pick up everyone's like shit and like had to put it away, go buy a new one, install it myself. Like my first year was just that. It was just like once again like Colombia at the start of Colombia, it's just like just dealing with one problem after problem, dealing with employees who were there to take advantage of me because they saw me as being this new owner who didn't know what was going on, and they were people who had experience working in multiple bakeries, so they knew how they could take advantage of the situation. I had salespeople stealing from the till, like it was just like, and I felt I was very vulnerable position where I felt like. I'm dependent on all these people. Otherwise, I'm going to close my bakery. I just started. If I close my bakery, this is going to be an abortion. The business isn't going to get going. And so it was just like, it was like a year. It was like, the first year, or even the first year and a half, was just like dealing with all these issues and like just like trying to keep the thing going and like keep it open and trying to keep like because you have to provide like a standard product all the time. You can't have. I mean, like if you make like, I don't know, 3 times you mess up your baguette and your baguette come out horribly, like you're like people are gonna start leaving. Like we had a moment where like we changed. So we have a machine called a laminating machine. So this is the thing that we use. Like you put dough in it, and it's like a rolling pin.
Okay.
It's like 2 rolling pins, and it stretches out the dough, and you lower the space between each rolling pin each time progressively as the dough goes through the rolling pins. And that's what you use to make sheeted dough or to make a croissant.
Okay.
So you have your dough that goes through, and then you fold it, and then you make it go through again. And this is how you make the layers of the croissant. Like if you see a croissant with the layers, that's the machine uses.
Okay.
We changed the machine from the one that the old owner had to a new one, and we didn't really know how to use it yet. And when we switched it to the new one, the croissant we were making were coming out horribly. Like you couldn't tell the dough, the layers anymore, and they were just like. It was like they were terrible. Like they were terrible. And we didn't know what was going on, and we couldn't figure it out. And for like 3 weeks, at the start of the school year, when everyone comes back from vacation in the summer, like we were making these terrible croissants, and we had been selling croissant quite well before. Like we started to sell croissant well, and all of a sudden, all these people who had been coming for croissant like disappeared, and we lost. Like we went down. Like that sales thing went down like a lot. So like. There was all these processes I still needed to figure out. Like they were just not going. Like it was not going well. But like. Step by step, I was trying to understand, oh, okay, this is like, we're laminating too thin the dough, we need to laminate it thinner. And like, oh, this is going wrong for this reason, this process is going wrong for this reason. Like, oh, we have this proofing chamber where like, our croissant would come out like super weird. They would ferment really weird. They would look like they had like these cracks on them. We didn't understand why. Then we realized that there was a fan in it, that how it had flipped, and it was like pulling air out instead of blowing air in. So like all these little details that we need to figure out. So like step by step, like it was starting to come together.
You didn't give up.
No, and never could give up. Because like once I was in there, and once I had made the investment, once I had like, and like I was like, I made this bet, and I had other people who had made, like my parents were helping me had helped me to buy the bakery as well. Like I had it was basically their part of their retirement money that was involved. I just felt like I have this duty, like this is my duty, like okay, like I chosen to like carry this weight. Now I'm gonna have to carry this weight. Like that's it. I'm not gonna drop this weight. This is my weight to carry, and like that's it. So like don't give up. Like keep going through it. Eventually, like we started to get more people coming because we started like, okay, the processes start stabilizing. We started like stabilizing. We started figuring out how to make things like in a more like having more standardized fashion, standard product. I craft a bit more. Like I had rotated the team. Like this was the third time I had rotated a team of people who were working with us, and we had finally got out like the worst elements. And we had started to have a better team at that point. And there was like a local guide that would like recommended food businesses know our bakery, and I made a video saying that they considered us to be the best bakery in town.
Okay.
So that started to bring in a bit more people. So when I was like, okay, we were starting to improve. But that's when my pastry chef fired from one day, like over nothing, basically. Like it was really the smallest thing, and I was like, anyways, long story short, like she quit. She decided to quit, and she was like, she had been working for her own, like from her house for a long time, and she was having a hard time adapting to a place where she had to work with others.
Yeah.
She needed to have a certain level of organization, which adapted to the business, the whole company, the whole process that we were doing, and she was feeling a lot of stress, and she ended up just like it was too much, so she quit. I called that baker Fred, the one who trained me.
Yeah.
And I tell him like, can you come to France and train me in making pastries? Because I'm constantly dependent on pastry chefs because I don't know how to make the desserts myself. I only know how to make the bread and the viennoiserie. And he says like, I can't come, but I have my right hand man who's like in charge of the team of the bakers and the pastry chefs here. He wants to move abroad. He's looking to move to Australia, but he took some vacation now. He can come train you. So I'm like, okay, like please, like tell him yeah, I'd be happy to have him over. So he came over. We started working together, and we had like, okay, we have the same vision. We have the same vision. We have the same vision for bread. We have the same vision for viennoiserie. We have the same vision for desserts. We have the same vision for doing craftsmen to do like high quality stuff. Same demand. But he had like all this training and doing desserts that I didn't have, and he had some really interesting recipes that he saw with Fred that I had never seen before, especially for croissant and pain au chocolat. And he said like, I had this really great recipe. We should see if we could try to implement it. So we implemented it, and it was like, the result was like really, really excellent. So it was like, okay, this is great. There's this competition in France that they organize every year to like see like, okay, that they do like on a regional level and then on a national level, see like, okay, who has the best croissant, who has the best pain au chocolat, who has the best baguette, who has the best galette, who has the best panettone. So there's a few products that they do to do a competition. And we're like, okay, we're gonna make this croissant, this pain au chocolat, we're gonna submit it to this contest. And we did that. And we won both spots for croissant pain au chocolat. We won first spot. For baguette, we got third spot because we had some troubles with the recipe at the time, and it didn't come out like we wanted. But still, it was like, okay, we got third spot. But winning those two awards, we got the local newspaper came. They made an article about us winning it. It came out on the front page on a Sunday, which is the day where most people get their newspapers. And in 1 week, we doubled our sales from where we were at. Literally, like when he came, we started implementing new desserts and stuff, and the sales were already starting to rise. At that point, we were already probably like at 50% more what the old owner used to make. At that point, winning the competition, going in the newspaper, we doubled. Like we doubled from that point. So then we were.
How many croissants do you make?
So we were going from making when we started making a new recipe with him, there was already an increase of croissant pain au chocolat. And we were going from making like, I don't know, from selling 80 croissant pain au chocolat in a day, which was like tiny at the time. And then we were going to like 120, 130, 140, starting to increase with him. we won that competition. We were making between 600 and 700 a day. So that just like took off like mad. And everyone wanted to come try the croissant pain au chocolat. Like we had a line out the door all day long. It never went down. Like
Wow.
it was just like constantly people coming to try the croissant pain au chocolat. And then all these people who were like around in our neighborhood who had never given our bakery a try because it had like it had sort of like we were in the shadow of the old order,
Yeah.
and all his spite and all his sort of resentment and all his like anger and there's this bad reputation that had developed. And all of a sudden they were like, wait, hold on, this guy's showing up in a newspaper, like he must be doing something. And I went on a radio show, and again I did a couple like newspapers on news articles online as well. So all of a sudden all these people were like, wait, this is like in my street, this is my neighborhood, like I have to try this bakery, I haven't tried it yet. And all of a sudden all the people from the neighborhood came. We won all those customers very quickly because they're like, oh, he's like, these guys are really like dedicated to doing like to making good quality products. Like they really care about what they're doing. And and for them it was really refreshing because it's like so many bakeries around just did not care, or they had to go really far to find a bakery who did care. So like we got all those customers, and then we got a bunch of other customers from around the town who were just like, we just realized like, wow, they really want to make, like they really do their best to make high quality products. And that's like, high quality products meant that like love for your craft. Like you have to have love for your craft to be able to do that, to be able to dedicate the time and like the attention, to not giving up and always not being just satisfied, not like saying like this is enough, like no, this is not enough, we need to do better. So that's, at that point things really took off. And since then, that was a year ago, a bit more than a year ago, even since then now we're like, compared to that average last, like from the average from last year, now we're like 40-50% above that as well now too. So like now we've like, since we started, like we're gonna make, I think we're gonna make 5 times what the owner used to make.
Wow.
After 3 years. Whole ordeal for 9 months where I also had to be once again super determined because getting a work visa, because my business partner is Colombian, and getting a work visa for him was very difficult. It took me like, we had to get a lawyer, it was a whole process. So during the time when he was not here, like it was very difficult to keep up with demand. And there's a moment after the article where like demand kind of stabilized and went down a bit, like it stabilized, and things were like, and it was like hard to keep up, but still like we're still talking about like 70% more than what we were doing right before the competition. But it was not as much as post, like just after we won the competition. Then it was very, it went viral basically, and things got really crazy. But since he's been back now, we're selling more than at the highest point right after competition where we had all that press and everything like that now. And just from word of mouth, just with people who have like tried it and like realized that like what we're doing is really good, because we really like, we really dedicated like to like providing a good service, providing good product, to doing our best, and realizing like even then like we're never gonna do things perfectly. We're always gonna make mistakes. I know like there's been like bumps along the road, like that's definitely true, but still we never lost our focus of like, okay, we need to continue, like we need to continue putting it all in, basically going all in, doing the best we can.
Man, I love your story. It's inspiring, and I'm so glad that yesterday I went to meditate, and that came to me like, you have to interview this guy. I love it. I didn't know 70% of the things that you just told me, but it's beautiful to see how boom, you got that insight and you started following your purpose. It's like it was your purpose, it was your passion, it was something bigger than yourself that was telling you like you're gonna do this.
Yeah. I like even moments of most doubt and most moments of really strong imposter syndrome, and like I had so much anxiety around at the start. Like when I was at my parents' house and I was making bread, just like bread to like make for like to try. At one point I said like, Sylvia, my wife is telling me like, okay, you need to go out and like offer some bread to people. Like you need to like see what other people think of the bread you're making. And I was having almost panic attacks about like taking these loaves that I was making, going to the neighbors and just giving them some bread for free to see what, and giving them this little survey, like a little questionnaire, like please fill this out and tell me what you think. I was so anxious about that. I had such a lack of confidence in myself. I felt like I was gonna waste time in their day. This is the mindset where I was coming from, where I was really struggling to like say like, no, you can do this. Like you can like you don't feel like don't feel like you're harassing people by just trying to like share like what you're passionate about with them. And I went from that state of that mindset to where I'm at now, where I'm like, I'm happy to tell people like, oh, I have a bakery and like we make really cool, really good stuff, and I'm like please try, like I'd like you to try, like please face it, like you're really gonna like this, and having that confidence.
What piece of advice would you give to somebody, that is struggling the same way that you were struggling?
People need to make clear about what they're passionate about, saying like, okay, what am I passionate about? Is this something I can make a business out of, or is this something like I do for my own pleasure?
And find your passion.
Find your passion, understand what your passions are, like know where your passions are, which comes a lot from understanding yourself.
Okay.
Start by understanding yourself. Sometimes you feel, I would say, like, this is the big thing that was in my life, is I always had to go far from home. I had to go on a sabbatical trip. I had to go to China to figure out I didn't really want to do finance. I had to go on a sabbatical trip to figure out that I wanted to do this project. Like, get out of your comfort zone and put yourself in a situation where you're kind of forced to get to know yourself.
Okay.
I think that's a fundamental thing. Like, really trying to understand, like, getting to know yourself is one of the hardest things in life. That's kind of the most like nebulous thing in life.
Yeah.
But it's a key thing where, like, when you do that, you can start making decisions where you are aligned with yourself. And once you make decisions where you're aligned with yourself, then you can like sustain any difficulty, any challenge will come, or like you'll be able to overcome them, because you are doing the thing where you are in alignment with yourself.
You're authentic.
Yeah, you're being completely, exactly. You're being authentic to yourself. And when that's one of the fundamental things. Like, am I being authentic to myself with myself? Like, am I being authentic with myself in what I'm doing, or am I doing this something for somebody else? And like when you have, that's part of knowing yourself. Like when you realize that, when you realize, okay, what are the things that I do for myself because this is what makes me feel. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel content. It brings me some sort of joy. It's like when you understand that, then that can sort of give you the keys to like, okay, what can I set my path on in terms of a career, in terms of a business, like a business idea, in terms of a project. I didn't even realize it at the time when I started the baking thing. Like I didn't realize it, but like. I like feeding people. I always like being hospitable. I always like feeling like since I was a kid. When we had soccer matches, because I did soccer in the U.S. when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like, there's always this thing at the end where you like one of the kids had like they took a turn of like they have to bring the snacks at the end of the match basically, and every team member like at a different match had that responsibility. When it was my turn to bring like snacks after the match. Like I would like the whole thing. Like I brought like way too much food. I had to kill it. Like I had to bring like the orange slices, the goldfish, like these chips. Like I had to bring snacks so everyone would be happy. And I always had this thing of like I want everyone to be like well fed. That everyone ate what they wanted to eat. And I always had this hospitable part of me. Like since I was a kid, I had that. And then I realized like. And this is something that came to like that I realized even later. But like if I had seen that like even at the start, I would realize like, oh, this is why you wanted to be a baker. Because it's like this makes complete sense that you wanted to feed people. Like you've always liked feeding people since you were like really little. So like if you understand those just as like those little small parts of your personality, really speak up so much in the world of like when you're looking at your studies and like business like job opportunities and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff is very impersonal. Like go to the personal. Go to like what is it like personally that like drives you? What are the things that like drive you? And like when you understand that part of you, then you can start like looking like, okay, passion project will go along with that basically.
I love it. Question like a little bit deeper. What do you think that is the purpose of life?
I think the purpose of life is growth.
Mm-hmm.
I think the purpose of like specific our lives as human beings, these conscious beings who are here, I think our purpose is to grow, is to like accumulate experience and to like and basically to get some essence from that experience which helps us grow. Which comes in the form of wisdom usually. That's usually what wisdom is sort of the extract of that experience. So I think the purpose is to grow, and I think the purpose, like on a personal way, is to grow in the way that you want to grow, to extract experiences that you want to extract from life, and to basically like grow in the direction that you want to grow in. Is to develop the parts of your like personality, the parts of your experience, of your worldview, of your consciousness, all those that are like. That fit you, that are like what you, that are like the parts of life that you want to like, the parts of life that you want to be wise in, the parts of life that you want to understand on a really deep level, the parts of life that like you want to have like that you want to figure out like on an emotional level. So I think the real purpose of life is growth.
Beautiful. I love it. Hey, thank you so much. I'm not sure if there's something else that you want to share. The last thing. Or...
Growth, I would say that is something that people don't understand. And I think that like happiness is not to run away from struggle.
Okay.
I think struggle is one of the symptoms that you're on the right path. Because I think actually like so about purpose in life, I think like the purpose in life, like the purpose that will make you happy is to find the right load for you to carry. Because I think in life we come here in a place where like want what we are doing to have meaning in life. It needs to be in service of something, in service of the world, in service of the people around you, your family, your community. And I think that service is like what part of the load, what part of the burden of being here do you want to carry? And once you find out what is the right burden for you, what's the burden that's authentic to you, you'll be able to carry it, no problem. And you'll be able to deal with all the adversity that's going to come. And all that adversity is actually just going to make you the stronger person. It's going to make you grow. And you're going to have like that fortitude in you to carry that burden because you chose the right burden.
Okay.
And choosing the right burden is I think the really important part. Like, is like understanding you will struggle, and understanding that struggle is part of you growing.
I love it.
And that's fine, but just choose the right burden. Don't burden yourself with things that you don't need. That's not going to help you grow. That's just toxic. Burden you with what is right for you. Once you have that, you can find happiness.
This is beautiful because the last question I was going to ask you was what's the secret of happiness, and you just responded to the question. You read my mind.
Okay.
Love it. Hey, thank you so much.
My pleasure. It's really nice to share this.
Thank you.